I do notice a lot of like the new riders, they would just like they'll try to find that point where you can scrape, but they're so close, and they'll keep trying to blurp it back to try to hit it, but they're already going really slow. So
Then it gets wobbly.
yeah, it gets wobbly.
Yeah, I know
so
what you're saying. Yeah,
don't do that. What you want to do is use
momentum.
Yeah, momentum. You got to get that throttle. So when you gas it back, you want to go straight back with your throttle, but you want to be real smooth with it.
Drop it down. Drop the nose down.
And then as soon as you hit back, you want to let off, like he was saying, and just like let the engine brake like bring you back.
Yeah, you don't want to be like trying to like do your trick while still hitting the gas. Like I see a bunch of people trying to do like hand drags, and they're like hitting the throttle and reaching at the same time. I'm like, no, that's a death wish.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit too much gas and then go flying.
Yeah.
Okay, so in today's episode, we're asking pros some tips on technique and setup secrets. So we have Sammy Stunts, Samoan Bruce, and Dom 829.
What's up, guys?
Highly requested guest on our panel today. So we're gonna start off with it's gonna go from beginner to intermediate type tricks and like the natural progression of riding, since it's like usually a wheelie and then a scrape. So we'll go from there. So starting with wheelies, what tire do you guys recommend for like just wheelies and tire pressure? That's like the most common question.
Like if you're brand new, or
I would say brand new.
okay.
Is there a difference?
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not
Really?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. But everyone runs a different tire. But for beginners, what I started out on was like a Shinko 777.
Yeah, everyone loves a different tire, honestly, but I learned on a Dunlop 401. And that's honestly one of my favorite tires to this day still, so.
It's a great
Still?
tire.
Yeah.
Yep.
It drifts really nice, but it also, like, it just hooks up anywhere and everywhere.
Do you think that's because you never really thought about using a different tire? You just kind of
Well, I mean,
going with it?
I'm the kind of guy that, like, will just pick anything out of a pile, you know?
yeah, anything.
Like,
you can
I'll
get.
run whatever. Like, right
For
now, I
sure.
think I have a, like, old Dunlop 401 on there right now, but I just took off a Michelin.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll run, like, whatever, but, like, my preference, if there's, like, a row of tires, I'm picking the 401 every time, you know?
For sure.
What do you say? You like the 777, huh?
If I were like beginner, I would recommend the 407 only because
407?
or 777 the Shinko, only because you don't want to get like discouraged, and because a lot of people will just spin out and then they like feel like they're never gonna learn how to wheelie their bike. So like with the Shinko, if they at least could get the front end up a little bit, it'd give them a little more motivation. Like, oh,
To keep going.
yeah, it's like, oh, well, I got some progression today. You know what I mean? But if that's what you're aiming for, definitely a 777 Shinko.
So what tire would you put in for a new
What?
For
a new rider?
I would say the 777, but it kind of like.
What PSI, sorry.
Oh. Ooh.
What PSI would you run for a new rider?
For a new rider,
I
run
would say lower,
lower. Yeah.
just because you're going to get more traction that way.
I know me and Dom run a similar PSI. I run 18.
Yeah, I run anywhere from, depending on, like, where I'm at and, like, the surface, I run anywhere from, like, 18 to 25.
You guys can drift on 18.
I
Yeah.
could drift on 5.
5 pounds?
Yeah.
We kind of like
What?
it.
I've
It's
been-
easier.
Yeah.
It'll,
Me
like,
and
stick
Tyler have
control
been there
it a little
before.
bit.
What the fuck?
We've been to a spot where it was like, it was just like concrete, and it was like a driveway for a dump truck. So it was like just trashed, and we couldn't get traction like all day. Like beginning of the day, couldn't
Yeah.
get traction like we're practicing, and we just keep lowering the pressure
Yeah.
till it's like okay, we can't let any more out. You
I
know,
feel like
we're
that's-
gonna be folding our tires.
I feel like that would throw me off because I've ran it low before because my tire has gotten low, like it just leaked,
Yeah,
and I felt like it would like have a delay to it when I
Yeah,
come
just
in.
like-
like a
and it
small-
also like just picks up weird
yeah
when you're on low tire pressure.
Yeah.
But it grips.
It does grip.
it
though.
does like so
Your
I
wheelies
did-
will come up real nice.
100%.
So that happened when I tried out the drifter cross thing, the practice, and I felt like because I needed more grip, and I felt like it was hooking up a lot better, and I was like, oh shoot, this is the way to go.
It's a
But
weird
then it got
feeling
flat.
drifting on like a low PSI tire because it grips, but it doesn't. So you can like you can make it slip whenever you want it to.
Yeah.
But like when you need to like save yourself from like a high side, you're able to like grip it and then get out of there. If that makes any sense.
What kind of tire pressure do you run?
Like 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, I run,
Yeah.
I run a lot, but it varies because like like on a Metzler 888, like if I put 35, I feel like the bike is just wanting to
Yeah,
Go
it's
side
probably
to
because it's
side.
more round.
yeah. So like I have to lower it at first and then put it back up after I wear it down a little
Yeah.
bit. But that's just
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the guys that come over from the sport bikes, you guys all run like really high tire pressure.
Mm-mm.
Like Seabear's the same way. I think he runs like 40
yeah,
all the time.
yeah, somewhere around there.
So when I first asked the question, you guys said for a beginner, like,
Yeah.
why would you run something different?
Lower. For
yeah,
more
a different
traction?
tire.
For
or-
more traction.
Well,
More traction.
So
your
when
tire
you're
will
not a
less-
beginner, you want something that's in between a drift and burnout tire and a wheelie tire. Is
I
that what you
mean-
said for a beginner?
Yeah, I mean, but if you're a beginner and you're like strictly like learning wheelies, I'd say like pick a tire that's going to give you traction, which is I've
Shinko.
never ran a Shinko. Like
Mhm.
personally, I've never put a Shinko on one of my bikes. So I don't know how they feel, but
yeah, I think the Shinko is the sidewalls are a lot softer, so it's gonna be hard once you get it to balance point. If you have lower tire pressures, because you want to go side to side because of the sidewalls breaking down basically, and that's what's hard about riding, I guess. So you would have to eventually bump that up once your wheelies get higher and higher.
Mm.
You know,
Makes
so
sense.
I feel like go as high as you can where you can get traction with the Shinko, and then bump it down as you go. If you can get traction, then stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
so you have as much
yeah,
tire
because
pressure as you
because the
possibly
higher
can.
it is, the sidewalls won't break down as easy. You know, so it's
And
not
flex.
like yeah, exactly.
pretty much your tire won't like go flat
Yeah.
when you're like trying to pop it up or whatever.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, don't do any burnouts with the Shinko 777
Mm.
if you don't want to
You'll
blow
break
your
do that.
Yeah,
transmission.
brake transmissions.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is from David Swackhammer on our Facebook group. Rear suspension setup, hard versus soft. This is for wheelies.
Hard.
That's like like for me personally, I feel like that's a huge preference thing, because like some people like to have like a very soft bike, and some people like it stiff. Me personally, I like my rear suspension stiff, just because like if something were to happen or something goes wrong and I end up stabbing my brake, it doesn't like completely bottom out my suspension and then flex it back out. So I don't know, for me personally, I run it really stiff. But I think for like beginners and like traction wise, like being somewhere like in the middle to more like towards the soft side would benefit you, just because the softer you are, the more traction you're gonna get
For the initial clutch
for
up.
the initial clutch up. Yeah,
What suspension do you run?
Legends.
Legends?
Yeah.
What's your settings?
My settings are stiff as they can go.
Yeah.
Like all the way?
Yeah, all my clickers are as stiff as they
Maxed
can
out?
go. Yeah, maxed out. And
Yeah.
then
Maybe I should try that.
I do.
I run my shocks or my springs pretty stiff.
Yeah.
So
Same here. I do that, but I I go all the way to the right and then one click back
Mhm.
on all my settings.
Is that the same settings on mine?
Yeah, that's what's on yours too.
So then that must be good for all the weights. What,
I have actually the same setup that Dom has. There's a video on YouTube that's like, what is it, like 5-6 years old, of legends like talking about Dom's bike and his setup, and it tells you in the video like what he runs, how to set it up, just like him. And I did that as soon as I got Legends, and never turned away from
Never
And that's
touched 'em.
fully
Never
max.
touched them. Like, so it's like as stiff as it can get, and then the rebound is as slow as possible. That way, when the bike compresses, you're not bouncing back and you're not bouncing all over the
I
place.
see.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing.
Nice.
so I think we all agree on the same settings then.
And they're all legends, right?
So hard. Because
Mhm.
I noticed I was running soft before and I was having trouble wheeling my Dyna now when you
Yeah.
first set it up. And then we changed the suspension. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And your rebound was really fast.
I couldn't
too,
believe
I
how
think.
much easier it was to wheelie.
Yeah, you got to slow down the rebound for sure, because
Yeah.
that's
Slow
what
as
causes
possible.
like the mousetrap
Yeah,
scenarios.
because
What do you
it's
mean?
it's like a bounce. It's
It
like
because when you like compress and the rebound is when the shock like pulls apart,
Mm-hmm.
when it like comes apart. So if
Yeah.
you like stab the brake or something real hard and it compresses, it's gonna
it's like a pogo stick.
yeah, it's gonna
Oh,
rebound
shit.
fast. So it's gonna like shoot you forward. I've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Damn,
Been
there a
that's
few
crazy. See, this is why we ask these type of questions. So what's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the episode. Real quick plug, I want to invite you guys to our online wheelie coaching course. This is exclusively made for Harley riders. We created a 3-stage progression method that is guaranteed to teach you how to wheelie. This is for day one learning riders. It's broken down from day one all the way to balance point. With this course, you get our exclusive members only Get Vertical app that makes it easier to access while you're at the lot practicing. You also get to join our Facebook community where we have a group experts in there all ready to help and other Harley Stunt riders learning from each other. You'll also get invited with online group coaching with Bruce and I, where you can ask us direct questions about your progress and any struggles you're having. You can sign up at getverticalcoaching.com. Link will be in the description. Anyways, back to the show. Okay, so Sparky West asked grips and handlebar setup tips for new street glide. But let's just say any.
Road glide. That's like closest to road glide.
Yeah.
setup.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could necessarily use really any risers. I've gotten that question too. It's like, where do I buy risers for baggers and stuff?
Yeah.
And it's like, you can use Dyna ones. It's just drilling out the front where your gauges go. It's drilling those out to make sure it goes like perfectly in. But I mean, you can use that. That's what I mean, I don't think I run any special risers, but I run 8-inch risers with like a 3/4 like bend.
What's my setup gonna be on mine?
Yours is 6-inch. Oh, for your
Oh,
bagger.
I have pro tapers, don't I?
Yeah, you have pro tapers on your bagger.
I love the 7/8 bars. So anyone with small hands.
Yeah,
Didn't I tell you to get
7/8
those?
setup
I
is
like
the
my
way.
1-inch bars. All
No,
right?
dude.
Yeah, so
I'm fucking telling you, the 7/8.
So with my wife's bike, we switched everything to 7/8 bars for her to be able to like grip and still use a brake and clutch. So everything just feels smaller. I actually like it too. I just don't want to go through all the hassle of rewiring my handlebars and stuff.
It's
So
like
I'm like,
full commitment.
yeah, exactly.
Full
And then
It's worth it though. If you're setting it up, just do it.
I grew
Yeah.
up on 7/8 bars, like racing motocross my whole
Yeah.
life. So all those bars are 7/8.
Ever
So,
since
like,
you
when I-
started riding Harleys.
Yeah, when I hopped on Harleys, it was like I had to get used to the 1-inch.
yeah. Do you
What do
still
you
have
run
the
now?
1-inch?
Yeah, I still run 1-inch. I mean, I would do the 7/8 conversion, but like he just said, I'm like, I'd rather just stick with the 1-inch.
too
and
much.
I
Not
feel like
worry
you're
about.
spending an extra amount of money for no reason.
I mean, you got to
No,
get
it's
like
a
the
huge
clutch
deal.
purge.
There is a reason, but
Yeah.
it's a lot.
It really was a game changer for
You're
me.
changing
though.
everything.
Yeah, I
and-
think Jesse Ryan, he runs 7/8 bars on his.
I think
too.
think so.
Tallboy runs 7/8 too.
Yeah. and all those guys are pretty technical when it comes to like front brake stuff, and I think because they feel like they're on the dirt bike, you know what I mean?
Fair
Like,
enough. Yeah.
but I mean, it's just all comfortability at that point, like what you feel like is comfortable to you, you know?
It's easier to grip if you're only gripping with like 2 fingers and you're using your front brake.
Yeah, it's just one finger at that point.
Like these fingers are so short. If you
Yeah.
have a smaller bar, you can get more
Yeah, and
turn.
Little
you can
baby
use.
hands.
I ran for the longest is Renthals grips, and I stretched those over the 1 inch
Yeah, you can run 7/8 grips
grips
over 1 inch
Yeah.
bars. I do that.
And
too.
so if you
I
have
highly
a
suggest
Some
doing
spit
that.
on it.
yeah.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
have a
Use the air gun.
It is hard.
if you have a preference, like a favorite like dirt bike grip that you use for your dirt bikes, throw it on your Harley.
Yeah, I always usually run like ODI grips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your
Big fr-
favorite?
Yeah.
I like my Renthal grips.
Yeah, Renthals is the
Mhm.
way to go for me. That's always
That's
they're
all
like
I've ever ran.
$13, you know, so
Mhm.
cheap.
Okay, so Zach Tumlin asked, bagger sit-down wheelie techniques explained from a couple different riders if possible, like a lighter guy, 150 pounds technique versus a 220 plus pound guy. And then he talks about an example would be how Dom 829 and Sea Bear clearly have 2 different techniques of sit-downs.
Well, when I was riding the bagger, when I first hopped on the road glide, I like really had to figure it out because of the weight distribution. But for me, when I was like learning the road glide, I was like trying to just put all my weight like onto the rear tire, which I was doing when I started getting it up. But the road glide, I don't know if you can like agree with this, but I feel like letting the clutch out on the road glide is a lot different than like a Dyna or a Sportster. It's like way later, like the clutch release. The clutch release is like way later to like hitting the gas.
You know why?
Why?
Because it's more, you have to be more accurate on your friction zone with a heavier bike because you'll get more rear tire spin.
Yeah, so there you go.
Because if you,
Yeah.
But
if you,
yeah,
if
The
you
scientific
Yeah.
way to do it.
well, if you release the clutch before, so this is okay. If you release the clutch, if you give it gas before your friction zone, you're gonna get more rear tire spin. So if you're doing a heavy bike, you want to release your clutch to your friction zone, and then initiate your gas and clutch release for your wheelie.
yeah, I would almost like roll on the gas like almost after my clutch was like all the way released. Almost like it was like a very, you know what I'm saying? Like my clutch would be like released all the way almost, and then I would like snap the throttle.
Are you like I always call it? Are you farting it up and then gassing it back?
No,
Okay.
I'm
Like
a
how
guy.
you would
I'm a
ride it
guy
in
that
lane?
snaps it like straight up to BP.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I hate like trying to chase.
Is your
it.
clutch release way far off your bar? Is
It's
that
way
why?
No,
far out, yeah.
I get where he's coming from. There is a friction zone that you almost have to hit, but like you don't want to give it too much gas until you like almost like release the clutch all the way. I
Yeah.
get what he's saying because I do
It's,
that.
it's hard to
So it's more-
explain. I feel like, but
Yeah.
it's a very like late, like getting on the gas type of thing. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's hard to explain.
Like you don't want to give it too much
Not even that.
juice.
It's like, I don't know. If you release, I feel like if you release the clutch, like at least on my bike, if I release the clutch like in the middle, all I would do is just spin, or I wouldn't like it. It wouldn't feel like I would have like the power to pull it up.
Is it like wheeling with like a slippery tire, where you almost have to like delay your response?
Yeah,
to
it's
it?
like a delayed. It's like a
Yeah.
delayed throttle response.
Yeah, like you're dumping the clutch, but at the same time you're like being very easy on the gas and then very easy on the clutch as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Well, my trick is putting water jugs in the bags. That helps. So if you're having trouble, I would recommend that for beginners.
But yeah, I don't know. Like The road glide is definitely different, but definitely getting all your weight on the rear tire is, because it's a heavy bike. You just got to get all your weight back there and get it to get traction. And once you have those two combinations together, I feel like you're gonna be picking it up pretty easy.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of it is your body weight. You almost
Yeah.
want to land your butt on the back seat of your bagger. You know, like
Like
you
the
don't.
passenger seat?
Yeah, the passenger seat, not
Yeah.
like on the seat. Like I noticed that like when I was first learning how to clutch up the bagger, because at first I didn't have a handbrake on the bagger for like a few years, so I had to figure out how to clutch it up. And the step plate always worked, like stepping in the back. And then I had a
Staggered.
license plate at the time, so I stood on the license plate and then covered my foot brake. Obviously, you know, it was a long stretch, but you had to like step aside and then reach over. But that always worked for me. But I would clutch it up like that at first, and then with sit downs, I had to like seat bump like pretty hard.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna just say, I think a lot of that, like a lot of the picking up a road glide is all about like timing. Like everything's just got to be timed right for it to come up.
Technique.
You know, like your technique has to be timed pretty well for those things to get traction and come up
Yeah.
easy, I guess.
Considering like both of you guys can clutch up a bagger, no problem, you know. So
Yeah, I do stand-ups on it, though.
yeah, all your weight's back there. But I mean,
My whole 120 pounds.
yeah, I mean,
But I will say your bagger's super easy. I don't know.
well, I mean, because it's a built motor.
Yeah, I was gonna
so-
say it also has a lot to do with what motor you're running. If you got a stock clutch, like there's a lot that goes like into if you're running a chain conversion or
Yeah.
if you're on a belt. Like there's a
So
lot that goes.
expensive.
There's a lot that goes into it for sure. But
Yeah.
I think for the most part, like technique has got to be pretty on point to pick up the road glide. You know.
Especially stock.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
especially a stock one. I don't even know if I could do that.
You know what really fucking blows? This Lexan P5 Advanced Smart Tire Pump. It blows up to 150 PSI. So when you guys see me giving you free smoke all day, it's because I got my Lexan P5 with me and I'm able to change my tire anywhere I go. It's super compact and it could fit in your backpack or your saddlebags, and it also doubles as a phone charger. It's super fancy, comes with a digital adjustable setting that you just set and go. So loosen the pressure and get yourself a Lexan P5. And you can use my discount code GETVERTICAL for 15% off lexan-moto.com. So what would you recommend as far as setup for a bagger?
Oh man, that's
Like-
a long list.
Yeah,
That's a long list. Man, it took me almost a whole year to
Set
build
it up.
mine.
Set up
Yeah,
your bagger, yeah. I feel you.
damn
'cause
near.
I think about it and I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to build her bagger. I'm like, dude,
It
that's
just
freaking
yeah, there's
easy.
just so like you're like stoked on getting a road glide,
Yeah.
and then you're like, fuck, I gotta build this thing.
Yeah, you're
Shit.
like,
Don't
shit.
they run, don't you run like a different suspension setup for road glides? Like a softer rear spring instead?
Yeah. Well, on mine I ran a softer one. Yeah, but it was just the spring rate
Okay,
on the
yeah.
like actual spring.
So instead of like a 130, you run like a 110.
well, on my Dyna I run the 150,
Yeah.
and then on the bagger I ran a 130.
Okay.
That's what I heard. A lot of people are doing. They're running softer springs on the bagger.
Why?
I don't know, but I just found that out. I run the stiffer spring on mine, but I mean, I wheelied that thing stock, exhaust or suspension and everything. So it's like, I don't know, like you could make it work. You just have to have like, I have years of just wheeling sport bikes and
Yeah.
stuff, so that helped me out big time. You know, so.
How important is setup? for
It's really
wheelies?
important. Like right now, I barely don't even have to. It's effortless, you know, to clutch up my bike. But if I didn't have that, it'd be a lot of work, you know. So
I think all you guys can agree with me on this. It's all about being as comfortable as you can on your own bike.
Yeah.
Like, I could hop on Sammy's bike and he's gonna outride me 10 times out of 10 on his own bike, you know.
Yeah,
But it's
that's so
just
true.
because of how comfortable he rides that bike every single time he goes out, you know. It would be the same thing if he hopped on my bike or if Bruce hopped on my bike. Like, you're not going to be able to, like, ride someone else's bike the way you ride yours.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part about when you're in the learning phase of wheelies is you're tweaking everything and learning. So every time you move something even like a half an inch, it's like you're relearning again.
Yeah.
But you have to dial your bike, but you don't know what the hell you like either.
Yeah.
So it's really hard.
I'm that way with like literally new parts. Like new grips will throw me off.
That's what you were telling me.
Anything new that I put on the bike, it takes me a while to like relearn it and get comfortable.
Yeah, I noticed that with your tires. You're like, I think this is my competition tire. I'm like, dude, it's like 3 months away, bro. Like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, you know, I'm just getting ready. I'm like, 3 months, bro. You're gonna save that tire
Is that
for
why
3
you don't
months?
do burnouts?
I try. Well, I'll test tires out. I'll put a tire on, test it for a session, and then take it off and put it. I'll have a good pile, and then I'll have a burner pile.
Yeah, that's why I was like, dude. That's like, I was like, damn, dude.
It's easy. It takes like what 10 minutes to change the tire.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
But that's-
Okay, scrapes. So the next trick is usually about a scrape, right? That's usually the next progression in a wheelie.
Mm-hmm.
You go for scrapes. What's some tips on that? How about let's start with fender length. And Sammy, you did a little video of fender length.
Oh, I forgot about
With
that.
us?
Yeah. Definitely have a longer fender. Definitely have a cut fender. Some people believe, oh, you know, you can't chop your fender without scraping it stock. I'm so against that.
Why?
Just because like you can hit a crack while scraping and you can tweak your whole fender, ruin your whole fender, and then you're like, oh, well now I need to spend
Taco.
$500. Yeah, you taco it,
Yeah,
and
taco.
you need to buy a new fender.
Almost kill yourself.
Exactly.
Or kill yourself.
Yeah.
Literally,
Like,
Yeah.
you get ripped right off that thing.
Yeah.
So I suggest cutting it like right above the tail light. I think that's why like a lot of people cut their
You
fenders.
don't even think people should just like pop their cherry
Mm-mm.
on it?
No.
maybe bust the tail light and then cut it, but
What if you taco it?
then you're screwed.
There's always a chance.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen it.
I agree with you. I mean, if you're gonna, you know, get into it, then break your tail light, then cut your fender.
I personally never broke my tail light or scraped my fender until I cut my fender.
Yeah.
Just because I already knew what I was going to be doing.
Yeah,
I didn't want to like have that chance of breaking it.
for sure.
So tell me why you chose your fender length. So Sammy's is cut like
I like my
way
short.
past the tire.
Yeah, it's at like the seat.
Is it at the seat bolt?
No.
Pretty
Oh.
close.
No,
so.
it's close.
Damn.
I like the shorter fenders just because I'm a more technical rider. Dom's also a more technical rider. Our tricks, we don't really scrape in. Like an arm drag, you might scrape in, but like you're going to crap yourself when you do it.
Yeah.
But we are more staying at balance point or sometimes going a little bit beyond balance point, and we don't want our fenders hitting the ground, messing with our balance during that trick.
Do you
It's
feel
easier
like
to coast.
Do you feel like that holds you back from doing like streets or like, you know, because I noticed that a lot of guys that do have cut fenders, they don't do like much on the streets. I mean, like scraping obviously, and like
Yeah,
like,
you're not gonna
stay
be
away from that.
throwing sparks on the streets
Yeah.
with a short fender. I would say it holds you back, but also at the same time, it doesn't hold you back.
Yeah.
If not, you actually can do a little bit more because then you can go further back. You can coast a lot further during tricks. So you can do
makes sense.
like no throttle hands a lot further than most people because
yeah.
you can dip the bike back deeper and then use that engine brake as it's bringing you back down to coast further.
But do you think that you could still coast the same amount with a longer fender because you're not coasting past like that balance point, because coasting you're basically at like balance point, because
Yeah.
that's when you could pull in the clutch and stuff, and you need it at that certain height or you're on your brake basically the whole time.
It's just
right?
more of like what kind of rider are you? Are you like a hand drag, drifting, like rolling burnouts person, throwing sparks on the ground, or do you like doing like no handers, elbow drags, type of things like that?
For sure.
It's just really on your style.
Yeah.
I don't think it holds people back. I think the only thing it holds me back on is scraping on the street. That's it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't really care for scraping that much. It's fun. I wish I had a longer fender to scrape.
Once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, once
Like
I think
wanted to.
there's like a point where
Y-
you can have your fender like my fender. I can like don't get me wrong, it's sometimes scary, but I can drag mine on the streets no problem. Like
Where's
Yeah.
yours cut?
it's pretty deep. It's
pretty
like
deep.
past. I'd say it's like an inch
From the struts.
past the like license plate top hole.
He's pretty close to me.
Oh shit!
Tom's a savage.
Yeah.
Damn, and you're scraping on that?
Yeah. That's like my go-to trick on the street is the scrape. Just because it's like people see it on the street and they're like, "Holy
What the fuck?"
shit!" Like,
Staring at a
that's-
headlight.
Yeah, like,
the
what the
thing is
hell?
though with that, it's like it slows you down so much that
Yes.
Mhm.
I'd be afraid to get hit by somebody because you're going back so far that's all like slowing you down.
Yeah, I just when I do scrape on the streets, I use a lot of momentum behind me. You know, I'm not like going 20, 30 and then scrape. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I like pick my speed up
Yeah.
You drop
Like-
it down.
to the top of first, and then I'll drop it back, scrape, and then come back to whatever I'm
Yeah.
doing. You know.
For sure.
I'd say the
Um,
only reason I cut my fender deep was because I was elbow dragging and scraping at the same time, and that was just scary.
Which is
Yeah,
like
it's
where
scary.
I'm at. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm elbow dragging and scraping at the same time. But for me, like, I have been scraping and hand dragging my fenders for the past like 6-7 years. So it's like,
It's normal.
it's scraping with both hands on the bars to me, you know? It's
So
like not scary.
So it doesn't scare you anymore.
No, it's
you
like a
know it's gonna
normal.
hit.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I know it's gonna hit, and like honestly, once it does hit, I'm like, okay, I can't go back any farther. I can release the brake a little bit, and I can just like let my fender drag and worry about where my arm is instead of like worrying about my fender or
That's a fucking trip. Okay, so
it's more of like a comfort thing for me at this point. you know?
yeah, because then you know where you are.
I just
in your
like know
wheelie.
where my bike is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like at all times. Like, oh, my fender's on the ground. I can't loop it if I'm on like
Do you run
the
titanium?
brake. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
So when you cut my fender, you told me that you want to cut it long enough so that my rear tire doesn't come off the ground when I scrape.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you cut it?
I cut it just right where, like, if you're looking straight down on your rear fender, your tires should be lined up with that. That's how I cut it. So if you were to put like a level on your
Yeah.
tire, it should be flat with your.
That's a
your
good
bottom.
that's a good way to measure it.
Yeah.
Is putting like a angle
Yeah.
straightener or whatever on it on your rear tire.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to put it because then it gives you the confidence to learn scrapes, and then once you're ready to cut deeper,
Yeah,
like
if
you can't grow your
choose
fender
to-
back.
Yeah, if
No.
you choose to
I
go
agree.
the route these guys are going, then you can always cut it, but you can't go back, know,
Yeah.
unless you get like a subframe that, that's going to look really ugly.
I think
So-
if you're a beginner, I think being like right at the 12 o'clock zone where you're like, you can get off the throttle and like coast, but not hit your fender like quite yet.
Yeah.
I think that's like the perfect spot to be.
Yeah, you don't want to like hit your fender before you get to the balance point.
Yeah.
Because then essentially you're relying on that
To bring you back.
bar,
forward.
yeah, to bring you back.
Well,
And-
that's scary too.
yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
But another thing too with like fender cutting is I heard from different people is you want to leave like a stock fender and not reinforce it. But I heard some people reinforce it. The reason why some people don't reinforce it is because it will bend their struts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That
So
it
you
does.
want to bend your fender before you bend your struts, or even just have that weight sitting on the fender will cause you to lift that tire too. Because you having a stock fender, it'll bow before it.
You have a lot more play.
Yes, it's like
Yeah.
a little softer on you than
It's
will.
not as rigid of
Yes,
a scrape.
Yes.
Can you explain what you mean by lift the tire off that people don't know
So,
about
I think-
what happens?
So a lot of people don't realize when you scrape and you see those people just go flying, which I did just recently at the Metro Mayhem. Well, it was a seal coated lot, and having a slicker lot, you're gonna experience like sliding out on your bar. So like when it happened to me, was my bike lifted up, all the weight basically transferred back, and then it rocked back with my brake engaged. So your tire that's not spinning anymore hits the ground and ejects you basically. 'Cause you're-
Ejectocito.
It's like a huge mouse trap.
Ejectocito. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
big
if you
mouse
see
trap.
that with like a lot of people, you know, just getting launched off their bike, it's because if you watch those videos and slow them down, you'll see that the rear wheel lifted off the ground.
That happened to Trent, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah,
That's
I've done
true.
it. I've done it a few times too.
With the Swarm.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it happens to
The
all
best
of us that
Mhm.
you know. I mean, if you ride hard enough, it's gonna happen.
And I think
I mean,
the key to not doing that is, I mean, we all call it gorilla scraping, but like being very gentle while going back
Yeah.
for a scrape, not like ripping it back there and just finding the fender and then stabbing the brake. It's
Yeah.
more so like kind of just coast on back there, you know, like very nice and easy,
yeah.
and try to find it that way instead of ripping it back and hoping to find it quick, you know.
I would explain it more like if you ever driven a plane, landing a plane. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never driven a plane, but I would think like
Fly.
if you were to land a plane,
Plane.
you would land that scrape plate just like you would a plane. You know, just real smooth.
Yeah.
Drop back off
Yeah.
the gas, not on it.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay,
wanna do
so
that.
what about using engine brake? Can you guys explain like dropping forward and then bringing it back? Because that's what you do. You don't slow your bike way down and then scrape. Or do you?
No, you're right.
You do that?
I don't even. What was the question?
Oh, he doesn't even scrape.
Well, no, I get what you're saying. So I do notice a lot of like the new riders, they would just like they'll try to find that point where you can scrape. They're so close, and they'll keep trying to blurp it back to try to hit it.
Oh,
but they're already going really slow. So
Then it gets wobbly.
yeah, it gets
Yeah,
wobbly.
I know
So
what you're saying. Yeah,
don't do that. What you want to do is use
momentum.
yeah, momentum. You got to get that throttle. So when you gas it back, you want to go straight back with your throttle, but you want to be real smooth with it.
Drop it
Until
down.
you
Drop
hit
the nose down.
And then as soon as
Yeah.
you hit back, you want to let off, like he was saying, and just like let the engine brake like bring you back.
Yeah, you don't want to be like trying to like do your trick while still hitting the gas. Like I see a bunch of people try and do like hand drags, and they're like hitting the throttle and reaching at the same time. I'm like, no, that's a death wish.
Yeah,
You're gonna hit too much gas and then go flying.
yeah. Or
You
the
wanna
bike's
be-
just gonna want to
Makes
like
sense.
pancake to the side.
Yeah,
you
they're
know?
chopping it way too fast. I do say chop the throttle, but like at like a slower speed. I know some people will like stay on the gas and then control it that way.
like,
I don't. Yeah, I
So
like
you
to
go,
like. Yeah, you basically hit the gas, let coast back, and then you can hit like your trick. Or if it doesn't happen, let the bike drop back down a little bit, give it more gas, and then let it come back onto yourself.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah.
good.
I agree with you. Like drop it back down.
You chop it, but it's like it's a slower. see
I feel
people
like the engine
feather it.
brake keeps you nice and steady, straight. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like you have to kind of get that to drop down and then bring it right back up. You know, because if you're just sitting there and idle and like the bike is like, you
When
know,
you're going slower in a wheelie, there's a lot more like body movement that has to be done to keep the bike going straight or where you want it to go.
Yeah.
You know, like when you have momentum behind you, it's easier for you to keep the bike straight
Yeah.
Yeah, that
and
makes
going in a straight line.
sense. Okay, so moving on to hand drags. Zach Warren says, "How on God's green earth do I commit to leaning back and extending my arm for a hand drag? I have a mental block about letting my body drift away from the bars to reach for it, and I can't overcome it. Any tips?"
I got a big tip. Bar lock and then grab your tank with your left hand, and then get used to like scraping, like dropping back like that. That trick right there will set you up for so many tricks, just because you get the feeling of doing a one-hander, but you're still attached to the bike. So once you get used to dropping back with your hand on the tank, then you can start reaching down.
Where are
And
you
really don't
grabbing
have
on your tank? Like low, or are you
low, wherever is comfortable.
comfortable?
Yeah, a little bit lower, but it's
So-
like right in front of you.
How do you initially take your hand off? Because you can't just take your hand off. Because you know how it is. Like when
Oh, yeah,
you're
it's
riding a
weird.
wheelie, you're like, do you like do one of these at first, or do you like go straight for the tank?
I bar lock, and then I get used to it, and then slowly, gradually go over with the left hand and grab the tank.
Okay.
That's what I always teach people. And the bars, because they're locked, they're not moving. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
If you need to re-grab the bar, it's right there. So it's kind of gets rid of like the whole scariness of doing one-handers and dropping back and going deep. That's how I always teach people how to do hand drags. And that will also set you up for like no throttle hands, and then eventually throttle hand drags and all that. That one simple trick is like an opener for like 4 different tricks.
So I think the scary thing for a lot of people is, which I've seen you do before, is having your bar locked while you come down.
Oh yeah,
Is it scarier than it looks, or is it not that bad coming down with your bar locked?
It's gnarly. I've come down with the bar. I've come down with the bars locked multiple times. I believe that the forward momentum is going to eventually straighten out your bars.
Yeah.
Which it will at some point.
It should. Are you going to
Does
be on
it
the ground or not? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
It could.
I think that's what the scary thing is for a lot of people. It's like, damn, dude, I got to make sure that this bar comes back straight, you know? And, you know, I've gotten it to the point where, like, I've grabbed it a little late and it's done one of these, but it wasn't, like, that bad. I was like, okay, well, shoot.
Even if the bars are turned a little bit, it's not going to be that bad. I've come down straight bar locked, no-hander, and that was gnarly.
Okay, I seriously cannot be the only one that does not trust insurance companies. Don't you feel like they never pay you what you deserve for your accident? That's why I always call Law Tigers. They're specialized motorcycle attorneys. Yes, there's a difference between motorcycles and cars. That's why you need to call Law Tigers, because they are the experts and you are not. And what's dope about them is you don't have to pay anything out of pocket. It comes out of your settlement. So if they don't get you paid, then they don't get paid. And the best part is once you call them, they take care of everything for you. You don't have to think about it at all until you're signing the paperwork saying case closed. Don't let these insurance companies screw you over. Call Law Tigers and tell them that Drea sent you. If you're local to Arizona, call my boy Jay. I'll leave his info in the description below.
So what do you do? Do you have your stops, like, broken all the way, or do you, like, have them stock?
No. So, Dom, you don't have stops, do you?
My stops are custom.
Yeah.
Custom made?
If he did it, he'd probably crash. If I come down with the bars locked,
Okay,
I have a higher chance.
That's
of
what I'm
riding it
trying
out.
to think, because
Yeah.
if he did it,
No, I have stops. I have
well,
stock
basically
stops.
his steering is like basically all the way. So if he
Dumps.
came down,
Yeah.
the
Dumps.
bike could possibly just
Yeah.
Most people don't. Most people have stock stoppers though. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, if you do have custom stoppers or don't have stoppers, yeah, I would recommend not
Well,
going down.
Yeah.
What would you
with bars
recommend for
locked.
people that are trying to do the one-handers that have cut? Because I am really uncomfortable with cut stops, because I feel like the handlebars like right in my chest, and I feel like I need to be right here to have my arm kind of like
Yeah, you want to like straighten your arm almost. You're
yeah,
holding
like-
your weight on your handlebar
Yeah,
at that
well,
point.
Yeah, I know, because you're so straight, but I feel like you're not like, I don't know, it's too centered.
I couldn't
you know
do
what
it.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
straight up and down.
I don't know. For me, I mean, I've been doing these freaking hand drags for 7, 8
like
years.
this,
So
yeah.
like, and if you ever talk to Tallboy, you could ask him this question. But when we were like both learning and like working with each other, we almost like, he said this and I like totally agreed with him on it, was like, we like when we were doing like bar lock and just like not even doing hand drags yet, and just like leaving my, like I would just like leave my arm like in my lap. I wouldn't do the tank hook
the
yet.
grab.
I would just like leave it in my lap, and I almost like felt like I was riding a unicycle.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know how like you hold the
Yeah,
unicycle
yeah.
like between your legs?
I suck
And,
at
like,
riding those. I've
and-
never learned.
Dude,
how to
so
ride them.
that's like how I think about it now. Is like when I am one hand and my bars are locked, like my bars aren't gonna go anywhere, so I can pretty much just steer this thing like a joystick almost. Like I can like
Okay.
push it left if I want to, I can pull it right if I want to, you know.
Yeah.
And like I don't know when I had stock stoppers, it was like, you know, they're like up over here.
Yeah.
But when I started running like the no stop, it brought the bar like more centered into my chest.
Yeah.
So I could, I don't know, it just made me feel like I like knew where the center of the bike was more.
Yeah. Did
you
that
know?
give you more of a hand drag, like more reach? I
Yeah, it
guess?
gave me a lot more reach.
It
Once
definitely gives more reach.
once I started running the no stop,
Yeah, because
that's when I started like getting elbow drags.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it's not further away from your reach.
You don't have to
huh?
like stretch as far.
Yeah, 'cause
so
I
like
feel like
now
I'm-
I could elbow drag with like my arm bent like hella.
Yeah, because of your bar.
Because of how far my bar
Oh,
is
okay.
back. But like if I were to stretch out and be
Mhm.
like dragging, my back's like almost on the ground.
Yeah, that's
You know?
crazy. I guess that would be something I would have to get used to. Because
Yeah,
I'm
well-
so used to just like having a stock
Yeah.
that rode like that for so long. I guess it's
Yeah.
like changing your setup up, and you just have to get used to the new setup. You know.
Definitely.
So I guess that would be a thing. I guess I never wanted to change the way I felt about like.
And
hand
it's not
drags
for
and stuff.
everybody. Like
Yeah.
the only reason why I do run like way like I cut my stopper on my frame, which it's a stunt bike. I mean, people don't like believe in doing that, but like I didn't
Like
really
you
care.
cut your frame.
So I cut like, you know, the stopper on the frame on the neck.
Oh,
I
okay.
just like trimmed that down. I didn't take it all the way off.
Oh, I see.
I just trimmed it down enough to where like when I'm fully locked out, my triple trees are like maybe a half an inch from my tank.
Okay.
So like
Yeah.
I'm never gonna hit my tank,
Yeah.
but I'm like as far out as you can go. And the only reason why I did that was I ran stock stoppers for my whole career until I high-sided my Dyna one time, and I broke the stopper off, and I like didn't have another set of trees, so
Yeah.
I just ran the broken stop
Yeah.
for like a long time, and I got used to like when I
Yeah.
was drifting,
Yeah.
I got used to like having that extra
Yeah.
like room there.
It felt weird to get on something that didn't.
Yeah,
that-
so well
that had
now, dude,
stops.
if I try to go drift Sammy's bike, I'm high siding
Yeah,
that thing,
for
like
sure.
because
I feel you.
I'm expecting it to like go all the way
Yep.
out for me, but like
Yep.
I hit the stock stopper and I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
like I am high siding.
I did that
all
with her
over the
bagger
place.
because I cut the stops off of mine, and then I got on hers and tried to drift it, and I'm like, holy shit, I forgot like these things.
It's a big difference, honestly.
yeah.
Do you
I guess.
recommend that then for beginners that are
Drifting.
running hand drags?
drifting?
Hand drags, I don't honestly. The stock stoppers work as Sammy points out. The stock
noticed-
stoppers
I like
work.
I
Stock
noticed you
stoppers.
guys, whenever you do hand drags, you do it in a small space. So like, you clutch it up, drop it back right away, and then do a hand drag, instead of starting at the end of the lot, riding your motorcycle all the way down, and then dropping it back and doing a hand drag. Is that because it feels different when you clutch it?
I don't like to
Straight-
think about what I'm doing. It's a lot easier to like.
Is that really why?
Yeah, honestly,
There's
you
no
will
technique
get
behind
you will get in
Just-
your head
just
just thinking
go
about that
straight
trick.
for it.
Just go straight for it.
Yeah.
The more you think about it, the more you're gonna
I
mess
think-
up.
A lot of people don't have balls like that, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but I mean, I learned how to do it really quick just because I like
Yeah.
started riding on a really bad lot, so I was
Yeah.
kind of forced into it. But it helps you so much if you're able to like get it right off the first drop
Yeah.
back.
Well, that's why I was asking, because I know some tricks are easier when you clutch it straight up and then do it
Mm-hmm.
right away.
yeah.
Like circles,
yeah.
they're easier when you
Well,
clutch it straight up and bring it to
what
that
I
perfect
would-
spot.
what I would say about that is, I guess, I would tell somebody new to learn on their own comfortable level. So like, if you feel like you got to take a little bit of that lot to learn how to slowly bring it back, maybe 2 tries to bring it back, then do it. But I wouldn't recommend like clutching up and just doing it, because I don't know. I feel like you would fuck yourself up more doing that. Do it when you're comfortable, you know?
Okay, another basic question. Do you guys hold your throttle differently before you clutch up for a hand drag because you know your bar is going to be locked like this?
No.
Like, do you grab your bar differently?
No.
No.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At least
Yeah.
for me, it's
I
the
would-
same.
I would say the same too. I'm trying to think back, but I think that was me overthinking a lot of it. Was like, oh, I should position my hand this way or this way. The only thing I would recommend is the grip. You know, a lot of people don't think about like hanging on, like gripping there, and then hooking the foot too.
Oh yeah, hooking
Yeah,
the
the
foot.
foot hook
Yeah,
is key.
yeah, that's huge. I mean, this if your seat's not like you don't have to hook your foot. Like I've seen people do it without hooking their foot, but hooking your foot would definitely help you get more confident in letting go of that one hand. You know, because you basically are using that to hold on instead of that one hand that you took off.
That's your second hand.
Yeah. So get used to that at first is hooking your foot. But if you have a good seat, you can attempt it. I've seen Sammy do it without hooking.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's very hard because you are using all your like holding all your weight with your arm. You're using your whole right arm.
Core, right?
Yeah, your core and your right arm. Versus if you do a foot hook, that's taking like 90% of the weight off of you. So
yeah,
you
I
can just
usually
hold
don't
right on.
ever like hold my body weight up with my arm
You just let
or my arms in general.
relax.
It's all my
Yeah,
legs.
like my arm or upper body is mostly just like as loose as I can get it, and then the lower half is like squeezing as tight as I can.
I noticed that you did a lot of like core workout and stuff.
Yeah,
Do you think that helped you out at
Yeah.
all, like
Yeah.
with riding?
it does a
Definitely?
ton. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of it's like, especially like if you're trying to do hand drags or like especially no handers or double hand drags, like if you're getting that deep, like that a lot of that is 90% your core,
Yeah.
like your core and your lower body, you know.
Oh yeah, you did some insane like freaking bar. Like,
yeah. I used
standing
to
up,
I used to
like-
get down on with
Yeah.
the calisthenic stuff. I haven't been lately. I'm actually getting back into it
Yeah,
right now.
that's
but-
crazy. Yeah, I've noticed that like a lot of your style and stuff, like it's just from like core, like no hand.
Yeah.
It's like double hand drags and stuff like that. And you know, I've looked into that like just because I went to the gym and stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, you know, like maybe I should do some core workouts and stuff, but never really got into it like that much. But I think about it all the time.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, that would probably help me out a lot.
It definitely, it for sure helps me like 100%. I can definitely tell like when I don't work out or like, yeah, like when I don't work out and I ride, like I can do all my tricks, but
Yeah.
it just seems like a little bit harder.
Not as
Yeah.
Like a
controlled.
little bit harder on the body. Like mentally it's all easy,
Yeah.
you know,
For
but
sure.
like it's a little bit like I got to work a little bit harder for it.
Yeah, yeah.
As like before when I was like working out every day and doing that type of stuff, it all just came like very easy and smooth and like
Yeah.
I didn't have to work for the
For
tricks
sure.
as much, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend for anybody that's like really trying to get serious with this is, you know, stay fit because
Yeah.
honestly, like
It helps.
for me right now, like I'm like super lazy, but I feel like looking at myself jump from like step plate to just sit down. I'm like, just look lazy, you know, and that's just me, like, you know. So I just need to work out more and freaking, you know, and plus getting old too. So, but that's not an excuse because my boy Jason Poland's out there.
I think
out.
I think another thing like with what you just said is like having the intensity that you like had when you were like first starting or like
Yeah.
you know, like you got to like have that like intensity and like motivation to like go out and like nail your tricks the way you want to nail them. You
Yeah.
know?
Like
And-
clean them up.
Like clean them up or like hit them, like whatever you're learning, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's just like having that mindset of like having the intensity of, I don't know. it's hard to explain, but like Dyna Nate rides with so much intensity. That's
Yeah.
why he's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't do like crazy tricks at all, but like the way he like gets into a lot and like just he's like a 12-year-old kid on a dirt
Pent up
bike.
energy.
Like like pent up
He's
energy.
not-
like he can't like
He's not fit, but like he just has that energy.
he just
and,
has that
yeah.
like energy and intensity that he
Yeah.
brings, and like
He just destroys that bike.
Yeah.
It's insane.
No,
and
for sure.
I think just having that type of mindset too like helps a ton, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, on the fit thing, I mean, like if you look at some of the guys that are doing some pretty cool stuff, like HG Stretch, he works out. Like, you know, a lot of people don't post about them working out, but I know, you know, they do try and stay fit and stuff.
Yeah,
So they do a
definitely.
lot of core workout and stuff like that. Like Tazinski, all those guys, they work out and try to, you know, stay with what they're doing, because it's not easy moving around on your bike and, you know.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
thinks it's kind of like a lazy thing to do is to like wheelie Harleys,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of
Yeah.
It
work.
is physical.
is.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
That moves us into the next one is transition. Olin Russell says, how does one begin to move around on the bike after learning how to wheelie? I can't seem to separate my focus. I'm worried about looping or slamming down hard.
I mean, Sammy's probably going to be the best one to answer this question, but I think the main thing is like just thinking about like keeping your wheelie in like a position to where you are able to move around, and you're not like worrying about it coming down and grabbing a bunch of gas and like trying to keep it up. It's more so just like cruising like within the balance point area and like not having to worry about that other scenario.
Transitions are definitely hard. I struggle every now and then if I won't ride for a while. Like I'll take 3 weeks off and then I try to do like a transition, go from like sit down to stand up. I'll find myself not forgetting it, but like losing my timing. That's
Yeah, it's all timing.
It is all timing.
Throttle control too.
Throttle control is big on that.
Yeah.
The way I learned it was kind of like watching like sport bike riders and the way that they are moving around on the bike. They drop it back down from balance point and then they let it sit down a little bit. That movement of the bike coming back down from a wheelie is when you do your transition. But like to tell you when, I couldn't tell you.
Wait, you drop it down out of your wheelie?
Yeah. So you're
I drop mine back.
Yeah. So you drop back in a wheelie, and then as the bike is falling back down, the wheel is dropping down towards the ground.
Transition.
You make your transition because you don't want to be jumping up at balance.
It's like right in that floating zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
see what
that
you're
floating zone. It's like balance point, but
Yeah.
not balance
Yeah.
point, where you can still give it a little bit of gas and you can kind of keep it, save your wheelie, and then you make your transition in that specific time, and then you get into your point, cover the brake, and then you could drop it back again.
So I think when you're first learning, you have to consciously tell yourself, don't jam the brake. Don't jam the brake.
Yeah.
Don't jam.
You
And
almost want to just work with your bike. You don't want to like try and force it, because
No.
you have to like, so what I would recommend as far as the first trick to transition to would be a knee knocker, because you're
It's
essentially
right there.
you're just moving this knee that's not on the foot brake over to your seat, like you're bending it in, and you're gonna do that sitting down. So as soon as you bring it back and the bike comes back forward, like he was saying, you want to move that foot, and then you're controlling it from there.
also remember that, you know, if you're starting to transition, you know how to wheelie by now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just remember, just focus on your wheelie.
Yeah.
Moving your knee from here to there isn't the hard
Yeah.
part. It's focusing on your wheelie. So just if you like really use your mindset to
Yeah.
focus on the wheelie, when you start moving on your bike, then the movement is easy.
Yeah, but I would recommend doing it while your bike is just sitting there.
Off.
Just
Yeah.
move your foot over, and then
Get the feel for it.
yeah, just get a feel for it, where your foot's actually hooking, or your knee is actually hooking on that crease of the seat, you know, and then you're kind of just doing that momentum.
Or even just like while you're riding down the lot. Like I see Sammy doing
Yeah.
it all the time. Like
Jumping up
he's
and
just
down.
like jumping around like while he's just
Yeah,
cruising down two
exactly.
wheels
Try to
down the
figure
lot.
out how to get
In and
Just
Where do you
get
put your
just getting the
legs? In and
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
just getting the feel for where your legs are gonna be or your
Mhm.
arms. Like
Just doing on 2 wheels.
Dude, I used
Yeah.
to be at home all day on a chair like this, holding the back of it and jumping up and down on my chair
yeah,
to get.
high chairs.
No. For
I was
podium,
close.
I'd hold the back of a chair and then go like this over
Yeah.
the chair over and over
Yeah.
through my arms. So
Uh-huh.
then I knew exactly where to put my
Yeah,
foot
trying to get used to it.
over and over. But like, if you jump up onto the chair over and over, it gets your core, and then you know, okay, I could jump onto my seat
Mhm.
from a sit down.
Mhm.
Oh wait,
I
you guys
agree.
don't do that. You guys don't have a handbrake.
Nope.
Oh, whoa.
Well, you guys still can
Whoa,
if you
whoa,
wanted
whoa,
to.
whoa.
I could loop.
Fuck it.
I do agree with Brusso on that. First transition trick should definitely be like a knee
Yeah,
knocker,
definitely a knee
sit down.
knocker.
Yeah.
That's the easiest transition.
I would
Yeah,
start
for
with
sure.
going from a knee knocker to a sit down. Just
Oh,
because
that's a good idea.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
learned that
it feels safer.
exactly. It feels a little bit safer.
Huh.
It's still the same movement,
Yeah.
and you're going from a trick that, let's say you don't really know knee knockers that well, you're gonna start learning knee knockers, and then you're going into a safe position, body position that you're always riding in.
Yeah.
You still gotta drop the bike back and let it fall back down,
good
and you
tip.
switch over.
Yeah.
And also, let's say you have a slippery tire, and you want to do a sit down trick, but you need to pick up a knee knocker. You already have like that fundamental down.
Wow.
Do you recommend learning wheelies like that then?
No,
No.
no.
I had to
down,
ask.
sit down.
I had to do it just because of like tires. My
Yeah.
first year stunt riding was on a 777. So like when I went into like the takeoff and like trying to do burnouts and all that, I like relearned how to wheelie. And some tires, I couldn't wheelie on a sit down. Like I had to pick it up in a knee knocker. So it forced me to like learn that transition.
That's dope.
Nice.
Okay, well, next one, circle wheelies. Joseph Silva, how do you start learning circle wheelies? What are some things to practice to work up to them?
That's a pro question.
No, to
Yeah, I wanna
practice
hear
to
these.
work up to them.
I need this trick.
I mean, first and foremost is clutch work. I'd say like learning the clutch, learning like
When you can pull in your clutch.
yeah,
safely.
well,
Yeah.
just like learning clutch work in general while you're in a wheelie, I think is
It's
the
huge.
key element to doing a circle wheelie. That's the main thing you're using while you're in a circle, you know.
Yeah. And what he means by clutch work is actually you're pulling in your clutch like little by little and off and on. For
And it's
those
the
that don't
throughout the whole circle wheelie
Yeah.
too. It's not just like initiating it. It's like
Yeah.
you're constantly like working the clutch in and out, in and
Yeah.
out.
So
in
how
and
do you
out.
practice that in a straight line
I would.
or in a large recon circle?
I mean, if I were to go teach someone like one-on-one, I would probably tell them to like foot drag in a straight line and then just like work the clutch and just try to like get the feel of it.
Yeah. Real
Like slow, like very slowly, like a slow moving wheelie. Because if you have your foot down, it obviously it's gonna help you side to side, so
Yeah.
you can go really slow, which will in turn make you use
That's
your clutch.
scary.
I can't even
Yes.
touch the ground.
That's
Well,
scary.
What I would, yeah, I agree with him. I think you should start off like that, but I think
How come you never told me that then?
start off with your foot down,
No, clutch work.
clutch work, because you have your handbrake on the top. So doing it like it's
I know, but I could still pull my clutch.
not really, because it's in the way. You pull
No,
in
it's
your,
not.
you pull in your clutch, it's in the way of your brake.
Babe, no, it's
All
not.
right, her brake is like opposite, so
Backwards.
it's like on top instead
I
of
could still
the
pull my
bottom.
clutch.
But okay, yeah. So
He wasn't going to teach me clutch work because he thought I couldn't pull
So-
my clutch.
yeah, so the clutch work is necessarily only because your bike is going to want to stall out. So if you're feeling like your bike is like chugging and like just slamming down, that's why we say to use your clutch work, because you want to pull in your clutch when it feels like the bike's going to die.
Yeah.
Because when you pull it in, the bike wants to feel, it sounds like it's starting back up. as you pull in the clutch.
So do you give it more gas at that point or no?
Well, you're gonna be feathering it. You're gonna be like lightly on it, and
Yeah.
on and off, and that's why you see like a lot of the new guys that are learning. They'll like the bike would tweak back and forth like this because they're clutch working, braking. So it's a lot going on, and that's why it's smart to do it like he says because it's easier to go in a straight line than to try and circle and
Learn
do
that.
all that.
Yeah.
It's,
And I would recommend like foot down is like just for that though. Like if once you get that fundamental down, I'd
Yeah.
suggest like once you're trying to dip into a circle, keep your foot up as much as possible. Just because it's
a bad habit.
a bad habit and I am constantly stuck on it because that's just how I taught myself. And trying to break that is very difficult,
Yeah.
and I'm still working on it to this day.
I do the same thing.
It's like I always just, I'll go into a wheelie like, all right, I'm going to dip this circle with my foot up. And then the second I'm like going to dip it, it's always just foot down.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you know.
why do you
And
do
it's
that?
and it's weird because like even if I try and put my weight all there to the left
Yeah.
on the inside,
Hmm.
it helps a little bit, but for some reason having my foot down just like everything lines up and it works.
Yeah,
better
everything just
that way.
like goes so much more
Yeah.
smoothly when foot's down, but it's just such a, it's all mental.
Yeah, it's all in
all
your head.
mental.
So like you're so used to doing it with your foot down that you like there's a different way to position the bike.
Yeah,
like,
you
when
like when you're foot up, you have your lean angle is more like
yeah.
you have more lean angle. So
Yeah, and you feel like the bike is basically falling over.
Yeah.
And then you put your foot down.
Oh, I see.
But
And
it's
then
really like that's where the bike wants to be.
yeah,
Mm.
and
You know
like
what I
when
mean?
you have your foot up, you can almost be like in the center of the tire and just like creep
Yeah.
it around.
Exactly.
So like
You can
when you're
do,
yeah,
you can
like-
do wider circles
Yeah.
because the bike is standing straight up. You know.
like when you see like if you see Joey dip a circle, like
It's
his
lean.
bike is like
yeah,
it's leaned
crazy.
over.
he's like on the sidewall, but that's
Yeah.
where the Harley wants to be.
Yeah.
Is like on that sidewall for it to dip
Yeah.
and like be comfortable.
And it's scary like that too because you do any mess up, it's gonna want to eject you. It's gonna high side.
Yeah,
Just
it's gonna
like
wanna
a
high side
drift.
you out,
Like
yeah.
you know, like if you're not that good at drifting and you're drifting really low and you mess up, it's gonna want to high side.
You have to commit to the gas when you get
Yeah.
that dip.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the scariest part.
Yes.
So on Harleys, do you learn like street bikes with wide circles first and then just start going smaller and smaller?
You can if you're starting to get better at the straight lines.
Yeah.
You could just start going
Is
wider.
Is that how you learn on the Harley?
No, I mean, yeah,
Or
not
do you
really.
Just dip it in, like commit and
I
dip
feel like it's harder
No.
like that because you're having to keep the bike running
straight.
like you know, because it wants to chug out. So it's harder to just keep riding it like that. You
Yeah,
know?
I agree with you on
Yeah.
that for sure. I think
Mm,
I think
'cause it doesn't have
learning.
the momentum.
Yeah, and I think learning you definitely do the straight line thing, and then once you got the clutch work down, just try to dip with the foot up,
Yeah.
and just get the feel for it. Like you're definitely not gonna go all the way around your first try, you know, like that's not gonna happen. But you'll definitely it'll just help you progress, I think, faster mentally
Yeah.
If you don't,
Sure.
with the foot up, you know.
then you don't have to break that bad habit.
You don't have to
Yeah.
break the bad habit.
I'm having to
like I
break
do.
that bad habit. And
Yeah.
it sucks because.
It's like relearning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like
exactly.
you already know how to circle, but then you don't with your foot up.
Yeah.
And that one too is like a mental thing for me because my leg has been fucking crushed so many times. Like
From having it out.
no, from like just other situations. Like I've broken this leg like 3 times already
Damn.
down below, and there's like a bunch of metal in it. So like my mental is like it's a bad thing, but going into a circle, I always
Envision that.
I always envision like the bike sliding out, like when I go to dip and just crushing my leg.
Yeah. How do
You
you
know?
break that mental like?
I have yet to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
on that one though, dude.
I know what
like,
you mean because I go through like mental like blocks like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, how do you even like not think about the negative shit that
Yeah.
could happen, you know? But I think you kind of just have to get in the rhythm, maybe listen to some music or something, just like,
Yeah.
you know, like kind of like you go to the gym, you have to listen to music to work out. Or I'm the type of person that likes to listen to music and work out, but at the same time, I like to hear my bike.
I have a
So.
tip. So
What's that?
you know when it's going to happen. You know when that thought's going to come in your head. You just said it.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
come up with a mantra that is positive that you like and say that over and over and over around that time when you know it's going to pop in your head.
Yeah, for sure.
And then eventually it'll rewire the circuits in your, this is real science. It'll
She's getting scientific. on
it'll
this.
rewire the circuits in your
full
brain, the
on
neuron circuits in
scientist.
your brain,
Yeah.
and it'll start saying the positive
No,
shit.
for sure. I definitely see that. I could definitely see that happening. It's just it's just that
Mind
mental.
fuck.
Yeah,
It's
just
hard,
that
easier
mental
said
thing.
than done though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we got to move on. We got to move on. Okay, rollers and burnouts. Rolling burnouts. Tire. So we just went over what you would run for wheelies. What do you run for burnouts and rollers if you're learning? If you're learning.
What tire?
I think any tire really is
Any
gonna
tire.
work for you.
Except
Besides
for a Shinko
the
7.
yeah, except
Yeah,
for a
don't run
Shinko
that.
777. But I
So
think
anything but a Shinko.
Yeah, any takeoffs old is better. You know, like I've been teaching her how to do rollers, and trying to put the shittiest tire that I can find, the oldest tire that I can find, only
Yeah.
because I want that rear tire to spin the whole time. I don't want it to hook up, nothing. You know, I want her to get that confidence that front tire isn't gonna push on her. You know?
Exactly.
So
I think running like higher PSI definitely helps too.
oh yeah,
Learning-
What
100%.
learning
PSI are you saying, talking
drifting.
about?
I don't even know.
I would do
I would-
40, 50.
Yeah, I would
Fuck
run
it.
it like pretty high, like 40.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I mean,
Well, like
better,
the, I
better
mean,
safe than
honestly, the
sorry.
higher the tire pressure,
Yeah.
the easier it's gonna be.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I do that with my drift car, so it's like I pump that thing up. you
So
know?
what about front tire? What front tire do you recommend and what PSI? Because that
A
matters.
brand new front tire.
I need a new front tire.
A
Yeah.
brand new front tire.
Yeah, I mean, everybody runs the Shinko 777
Yeah.
for the front, and it's been trusted through. If you look at any of the stunt riders or the stunt riders that are good, they're probably running a Shinko 777. They're cheap, and you know they've been gripping, so
They are
definitely.
sticky.
So what PSI in the front? Because don't you lower it a little bit?
I've run 25.
I'm running 30 right now.
Yeah, you wanna for rollers, I think, and if you're doing like front brake work, burnouts, it's getting as much traction on the front tire as
Yeah.
possible. You know.
That's the hardest
Yeah, I
part.
noticed a lot of people have been running wider ones too. So like I put a wider one on yours. So
yeah,
I
the
think it was-
110.
Yeah, so I put
Yeah.
a 110 on yours. It's usually what's
It's a 100. in
yeah,
the
like
front,
a 100
usually.
So just more surface, you know, for your
More
tire.
surface grip.
Yep. So your tire to
Smart.
grip on the ground. So
Mhm.
those are just little tips and tricks that you know you find out as you go, and it's like, let me try it, you know, and it's been working out for you. You've been
Yeah.
learning.
It's really helpful.
So
And that goes, I mean, it goes back to bike setup too. Like
Yeah.
your front suspension has to be pretty dialed for,
Yeah.
like especially if you're doing rollers on the streets. Like
Yeah.
you can't be running no stock stuff, you know.
Mm.
yeah, for
So
sure.
what do
You
you
gotta
recommend for
have
front?
like some nice stuff. I mean, that's like preference. I feel
Yeah.
like suspension is so hard to like pinpoint because everyone's a different
Yeah.
weight. Like you just gotta like set your bike up the
Yeah.
way you feel comfortable
Yeah,
on it,
if
you
you-
know. And obviously like you're not gonna get it right the first try. You
Yeah.
know, it's gonna take time for you to figure that out. But
Yeah. If you look at any like racing or anything, that's like one main important part.
yeah, it's suspension.
It's suspension. So if you think about it in the way that we ride it, we need good suspension, you know, and so, you know, making sure that you have good suspension is huge, you know, and so what I run is I run the Legends drop-in +2. But I don't recommend that for everybody. I do it on the bagger because, first of all, you can smash your front fender by having stock length, and that's why I've seen fenders just get
tacoed
crushed
in the front. Yeah.
And another reason is I'm going 2 inches higher in the back too, so it's like it evens everything out. So if you think about the way you're going with suspension, you don't want to raise the back end up and then keep the front down. I mean,
Would you set up my Dyna?
your Dyna is the same, so you want +2s in the front, but I dropped it down like a 1/2 inch in the front because I wanted more weight transferred to the front.
Yeah.
For rollers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
would you set up your Dyna and bagger?
My bagger was the
+2.
exact setup, that Bruce had. My Dyna is a +2 setup. With I just run like just a spring, like generic spring setup in the front on mine. I don't run like the dampener or the cartridges or anything like that. So, but it's stiffer. I run stiffer stuff.
What do you got, like race decks?
I have like I think they're progressive, like the stiff spring, but I also put like the 2-inch
PVC like spacer.
yeah, not the PVC spacer because those are junk, but yeah, I put like the spacers in. Like I think they're like 2-inch or 1.5 or something.
Yeah, for sure.
So it makes it stiffer, but it's not like rock hard. You know?
What about weight? Have you thought about like what weight to run in the front? Because I know
like oil.
Yeah, oil
Yeah,
weight.
yeah.
I know I ran like a little bit lighter on hers only because of her weight, and like I didn't want it to be like too stiff to where like the suspension's not like really like going down, compressing. You know, so
it's not working.
Do you think that affects like the compression?
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Definitely, yeah. It definitely
sure.
does. I usually always run 20 weight just
yeah. I
because
put
that's
15.
where that's
15
where
on
I'm
hers.
always comfortable.
Yeah.
But
What do you run in yours?
I don't know. Legends set it all up for me.
I'm sure it's 20. They always send you 20 weight when they send you stuff, so it's probably 20.
Did you redo your front?
Oh yeah, no, I did my whole front. I did +2s in the front because I have a low rider. My rake is a little bit more than like a regular like Super Glide, so I had to do +2s in the front. I did Race Tech heavy duty gold valve front end, so I can have a little bit more stiffer springs for come down with wheelies, but also for like I can put my weight in the front and I'm not gonna fall, like the bike's not gonna fall down on me. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I also raised the bike, like Bruce was saying, +2 in the rear, so I had to level out the bike a little bit.
Nice.
Oh, so everyone does +2 in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that was
Why?
Having the bike taller makes stunting in general easier.
Why?
yeah.
It's easier
It
wheelie.
just it's
More travel, I think.
it's just more travel, and also like you're not
balance
as
point?
close to the ground.
You're not
Like
scraping like every time you lean it over. You know what I mean? Because you're
Oh,
a
when
little
you-
bit higher.
like when you lift,
Drifting?
well, that and wheelies, you know.
Because you're not like, I feel like you're not like, what is it, low to the ground. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're like a lowered car, you can't pick that up. Like,
It's harder to wheelie.
Yes.
Like
so-
lower, like
Yeah.
the center gravity of the
Yes,
bike is
exactly.
like, it's not when it's taller, it's gonna be easier, you know.
to wheelie.
So Bruce just got an 18-inch wheel in his rear
Mm-hmm.
in hopes that it'd help his rollers because he has a 16 in the front.
Well, not only
What's
that.
your theory?
So my
He's trying
theory,
something new.
my theory is on having a 16 compared to 18. So I noticed because I had an 18 on there before,
Yeah.
In the rear.
and then I switched to a 16 because the tires were just really hard to
So-
come by.
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
brutal.
I used to, when I first wheelied my bagger, it was really comfortable. Like it was easy to wheelie, but my theory was having that bigger wheel, it made it easier, because now like having a smaller wheel in the back, I feel like I'm fighting the bike more. But that could just be in my head. So that was one of the theories, and then another one was having the smaller tire in the back was making the bike sit more like a lowrider, like it's sitting up higher, and so all the weight is distributed more towards the back, and not like even where it needs to be, like where the weight's like. But that's just maybe me overthinking a lot.
So you
of
think
it.
a larger rear tire is easier for wheelies and burnouts? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because now your weight distribution is like more even.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But that's just maybe just I never really like looked into it. It was just like,
That's like no, you're totally
theory.
right. That's like all of
Physics.
what you're saying is like based off of the traction you're getting.
yeah,
Like I always go back to like racing motocross because that's what I grew up my entire childhood is
yeah,
like having like if your bike's like raked out, you're gonna get like you're like the front of your bike's gonna be lighter. Like
Yeah.
the weight's gonna be on the back of the bike more.
yeah,
And like vice versa, if you're down in the front, up in the rear, the more weight's gonna be on the front of the
Yes.
tire, and it's not like you want that weight distribution to almost be like even.
yes. You
you
want it to both kind of compress at
Yeah.
the same rate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And I
so-
think like what you were saying about the tires, that it just makes the bike even, to the
Yes,
ground instead of
exactly.
like raked out.
Yeah, and so another thing too, like if you think about those BMX like bikes, like the big wheel BMX, they're huge wheels on them, and I was just thinking like I don't know if that's the reason why they wheelie those, but like I don't know why Dirty went to I think he has the same size wheels on front and back.
Yeah, he went I think it's in 1918 setup on
Yeah,
his
it's
Dyna.
crazy to see, but like it's kind of cool because I'm like I don't know if he's trying something new or like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So like I don't know. Like I would like to hear like his thoughts
take on it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
for
to
sure.
kind of see like you know.
I definitely when I built the Road Glide, I went straight to the 18. I never
18.
rode the 16, so I'm not quite sure what it feels like, but
Yeah.
and also I just run the 16 on the Dyna too, so
Makes
Yeah,
it easier.
I haven't rode it much. Like with my new 18, I would like to ride it a little bit more. But I just been having like brand new tires on there, so it feels like really like side to side. It's just
You're not used to it yet.
Yeah, so it's taken me a little bit to get used to. But before I forget though, I had a question about. So you said something about your lowrider.
Mm-hmm.
Is a lowrider? Is there a difference between why you can't like? Because I feel like when I try to wheelie a lowrider compared to was it convertible? What's the other
Superglide?
one?
Anything, Super Glide, DX,
Super
it
Glide.
don't
I
matter.
feel like the lowrider was harder to wheelie. Like I tried to
Yeah.
wheelie TJ's lowrider, and I couldn't get that fucking thing up for shit.
They're
Like,
definitely harder to wheelie. It's because the front end is raked out a little bit
is
more.
that why?
So
I
we have
never
a longer
knew.
wheelbase.
yeah, the wheelbase is long.
I never knew
Yeah.
that. I'm like, dude, I can't figure out why I couldn't wheelie. So I've always just been thinking about that. I'm like,
What's raked out?
You gotta ride those things like
The angle of like how
your
like
neck, the
yeah,
neck
like,
of
the
it,
neck.
it like it's tilted out more, so it's like a chopper.
So like this is like your front
Oh,
end. This
oh,
is your
oh.
frame connecting.
Uh huh.
Mine's like this instead
So it's
of like
longer.
this. So it's a longer wheelbase.
And that's
Yes.
what makes it lower.
Yeah,
No.
that's like
Is that what
I
makes it
well
lower?
I don't know
Yeah.
why
Makes
they
it
call
wider,
it. Yeah.
so like the width of it is longer.
Oh,
than-
so
just-
it's like longer to wheelie.
Yeah, the wheelbase
Yes.
the wheelbase is longer.
longer. So
Yeah.
like from the front tire to the rear tire, it's
Oh,
longer.
yeah.
It's-
that
yeah,
makes
From
sense.
like axle
Way
to
more.
axle.
yeah.
That's makes sense why
That's
it'd be
longer, yeah.
harder.
And it's crazy because I learned a lot from flat track racing, and like to get around the track, a lot of them derake their front end, and so like thinking about all this stuff like suspension and that, it's just crazy to me. Like a lot of it has a lot to do with what we do too. Like you know, if we derake that, it might help lowriders.
It
out.
might help
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
So why do people buy lowriders?
I like lowriders. They're fun to drift. I don't really find them hard to wheelie. I didn't know there was like a big difference until I rode like TJ's new build, and I was like, wow, like Dynas are like Sportsters. Like these things come straight up. Like
Yeah.
a DX comes straight up.
Yeah.
I have to kind of work for my bike to come up. But like now that I'm so used to my bike, it's easy to me.
Yeah, you're just used to.
I didn't really notice the rake until I hopped on like a normal Dyna. I like the low riders a lot though. I think that rake will struggle and make it harder for rollers, but I know a lot of people that like absolutely shred on low riders.
Yeah.
No problem at all with rollers too.
For sure.
Okay, so next trick, drifts. Brandon, I'm not even gonna pronounce his last name. All gas drifting versus brake drifting. Breaking down the basics of when and why to apply brakes for specific styles or tricks. A lot of confusion, I feel like, for entry level people.
That's a tough area there because you talk to. I mean, you can ask anybody like in the top of the scene, I guess, and they're gonna say a different answer every time. But like some people just say that using the front brake is not a drift; it's a burnout. But I don't know. I was the type of guy that I learned drifting with my front brake, and then as I got comfortable with the bike getting sideways and like being on the lockers and stuff, that's when I gradually like got off the front brake and started using the speed to slow me down instead of the brake. But I don't know, it's like a huge preference thing again. Is like learning, I would say no front brake, just because using the front brake, it's going to be easy. Like using the front brake's easier, just plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know?
it's just slower.
It's
You have
slower, it's more
time to, like,
controlled.
think about stuff. But with that being said, you're risking washing out too. So
Yeah.
like there's a
Yeah.
lot of that, you know. So I guess it depends on what your preference is. Like, you know, like I like going fast, so drifting with no front brake is my style. And the same goes with foot down and foot up. Like
Yeah.
I like my foot down because I'm pushing it wide. I'm gonna go as wide as I can.
Yeah.
You know.
So I can't be the only one thinking this, but how is a front brake drift even a drift? Like, I don't understand.
It's, I mean, to me personally, I don't think it's a drift. I think
Like,
it's
but
a
what are
burnout.
people considering? Is it when it's wide and fast, but you're using your front brake still?
Yeah,
Is
like
that what
the
they're
front
considering a front
brake
brake
drag. I don't know. It's such a gray area.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it is such a gray area.
It's
because
hard because, you know, like what would we call, you know, like I would just call it a rolling burnout because you're rolling and you're
using the front brake.
Yeah.
But, you know, some people call it drifting. I feel like if you've got enough speed in there that you could consider it a drift, you know, like if you're mobbing, you know, because I've seen like Jesse Ryan, he just do it. He
And
just
Seabear.
smash and, you know,
Mobbing.
like just,
Yeah.
so, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean,
I would say,
It is.
yeah, I agree with you on that one. I prefer the whole not using the front brake for at least sliding
yeah,
wise. Also, if you use a front brake, that's a burnout for sure.
yeah,
That's definitely a burnout. Because what is a rolling burnout?
yeah, exactly. If
It's
you
using
don't,
your
you
front
know,
brake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're using the front brake.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
even if you're going side to side, how is that now?
But then there's
drifting?
always that argument of, well, drift cars use front brakes, and it's like, yeah, they do, but it's a totally different
That's
aspect. Like that
Yeah.
is totally different. They have 4 wheels, we have 2.
Mhm.
yeah, and they use it to control it's not like they're on it the whole time.
Yeah,
They're-
exactly.
They're using it to control their distance and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. They're not using it the whole time. Like
Yeah.
that would be considered a rolling
Burn- yeah,
burnout
rolling
to them
burnout.
because they're doing just
Yeah.
a slow burnout around the, you know. So, you know, it is a tough, you know, discussion to have.
But at the end of the day, it's
yeah.
like you're always gonna have those people that are gonna say it's a burnout or you're drifting. Like
yeah,
at the end of the day, just kind of do whatever you think is cool.
yeah.
You know, like
You
that's
wanna
what
call
you
it a
do.
drift,
that's
call it
that's
a
what I
drift.
do. I do whatever I think is cool
Yeah.
and what I like to do. You know,
For
and if
sure.
it's using my front brake, well, because I do use it. I mean, I touch it every now and then, if I want to like transition like hard, or like if I'm going too fast and I want to transition the other way, I'll slow myself down with the front brake and then I'll get right back off of it. But it's like, I think having that in your bag is definitely a good thing
for sure
to have.
That's how you transition? Just slow it down and then
Not all the
switch?
time. Like if it's just in certain.
That's really hard to do, by the way. It's not easy to
It's not easy to go from on to off.
Yeah, on and off.
Yeah.
Hard.
I do see a lot of guys do that, and they're really good.
It's definitely difficult.
Really good riders that do that, because
So don't try that at home.
No.
I mean, I wanted you to learn that way because it's slower for you and it's easier to kind of like
With Larry's.
Yeah, with Larry's but
Maybe we should go into that because that's next.
I think, but yeah, like I just said, I think having both of those in the bag is definitely an A+,
So right now I'm learning Larry's, and he's teaching me front brake Larry's first. But then, what was it? Oh, Hooligan said to learn J-turns.
Yep, I agree with Hooligan. That's how I learned them. It took me forever to figure out how to do like a natural limiter Larry. I would just be like going around a corner and then just dump my clutch and then spin that tire, and you'll get used to the bike kind of going out on you. And then
Can you explain exactly, clear it up for everyone, what is a crazy Larry?
a crazy Larry is when you just dump the clutch, turn the bike to the left or right, and you're just all gas, no brake, and you're using the bike in the what do you even do? Like
it's momentum.
It's
you're
like
just
a donut.
like
It's like a momentum.
Yeah, you're
thing.
just like spinning fast in a circle.
The tire's spinning so fast.
But you have
on
to hit the
limiter.
limiter to be a Larry. You can't just be like
it's got to be on the limiter.
Yeah, it's got to be.
You know what? I had an aha moment when you said use the speed, or I think you said use the speed to slow you down.
Yeah.
That made me understand Larry's better, because I was wondering, like, how do I stay in a Larry? How do I stay in a Larry when I let off my brake?
Yeah.
I don't understand when I
So a lot of people
go.
don't think about this, but like when your tires are moving like that, drifting or doing a burnout, like the faster your tires moving, the slower you're gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very true.
Because the faster your tire is gonna be spinning.
Breakthrough.
Yeah. So like that's why I said like when I'm like doing no brake drifting, and if I'm going too fast, I usually give it more gas to slow myself down, because it gives me more lean angle to where I can like get off the gas and like kind of coast it to where it slows me down, and then I can get back on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just like when you're doing rolling burnouts, you give it more gas and it slows you down. Like if you're like light on the gas, it kind of like pushes
speeds you up, and then your ass starts moving around.
Exactly.
That's crazy. So, what about you? Do you recommend J-turns?
If I was gonna teach someone to do some Larrys, I would probably teach them to just like go into it and like try to get one whole circle and then out. Like don't like stay in it or try to stay in it, but getting like one whole circle in and then like coming out of it, I think would definitely help more than a J-turn.
So
I mean, J-turn would for sure help a ton.
Yeah.
So a J-turn, explain to me, is at a full stop and then just
leaning it over and gas.
Yeah, just
gassing
leaning it over and gassing.
And what you're saying is not rolling, come in straight,
like
like power slide.
Yeah, that's how I always come into a Larry. Is like I come in, like I come into it like I would come into a drift. You know,
you brake with your
I would
your
like
foot brake?
come in, clutch in, brake, do a power slide, and then when I'm like either halfway through my power slide or like almost 3/4 of the way, then I'll pop my clutch.
And you turn
And
bars?
I'll initiate. Yeah. Well, at that point, I'm already like turned in.
Yeah.
I'm already turning.
The power slide is a little bit different though for the entrance.
That's how I always do it.
I always like when I'm power sliding into like a limiter Larry, I push the bike over to the left, and then it'll swing out to the right. But at that point of it swinging out to the right, then you dump the clutch, and it'll give you that momentum to like help you get into the Larry. You'll get into it way faster.
Yeah,
That's how I was taught into
that
it.
definitely
I
helps
see
for
people
sure.
do that.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I
that
feel like
definitely
that's a little
helps.
more technical.
That
for
is.
like
Yeah.
people.
But it helps
more-
you out a lot.
Gets the
Because
momentum of
it's
the bike.
swinging it.
Spins you
Yeah,
around
you're already
faster.
swinging.
Yeah.
Which that's how I do initiate mine all the time too.
Mhm.
But
You can do it off the rip.
yeah, you can do it off the rip. I think learning, it's definitely, to me personally, off the rip is harder for me.
Yeah.
Like
It
just like
definitely
standing
is.
there and
Yeah.
then like
Yeah,
wop,
that's
wop, wop,
scary.
and like dropping
Yeah.
into it. Definitely harder than like rolling into one.
Same here. I feel like it's harder because you're essentially you don't have control of your power of the bike.
Yeah.
If you go into it, you have a little more control because you know like how much you're giving it. If you can get a full circle and exit, like he said, now you're starting to get a feel of going into it and exiting. I think a lot of people struggle with exits because they don't know what to do after they go into it, and they're like, but this is a good way to learn, is what he was saying, is go in full circle and out, just quick. You don't have to focus.
And even if you're not on the limiter, like that,
Yeah.
that full circle, like just get the feel of like
Yep.
getting into it and then coming out of it.
Yeah, and I feel like
Because that's the main thing. Like
Yeah.
coming in and coming out is like the
hardest
scariest part.
Yeah.
for those
essentially, you know?
those tight ones, you want to turn your bar in. As soon as you exit, you want to slowly counter steer
Yeah.
on your way out, so you're not, because to get that bike to go around in a full circle, you need your bar to go in initially. So like when he was power sliding in, you want to turn your bar in.
And I think like once you're getting to that point of hitting limiter, coming out of the limiter is like a very smooth like come down of your RPM.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like
You don't
you
turn it
just
off.
straight let
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you're on wop
Yeah.
wop wop, and then you like wop bop bop
Yeah.
bop bop, like just slowly like bring the RPMs down
Mm.
instead of like, because
Kick
if
it
you're
out.
like in it and then you
Yeah.
just let off, that thing's gonna high side you
Yeah.
to the moon.
Exactly.
Super fast.
Like
Yeah.
it's gonna say see you later. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Just listen to some of the guys that do Larrys.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll hear their bikes start coming off at the limiter and then they exit.
That's
Yeah.
one thing that I have to remind myself to do, is actually listen to the pros when they're riding, and like listen to their bikes and try to mimic that. with
Yeah,
my
it's
bike.
huge.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dom, you offer 101 coaching now, huh?
Yeah. You want a class or what?
Well, I was gonna say. I actually was gonna say that because I'm doing a series on Larry's, and last video he taught me with front brake,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I want to try different ones so that I can see what works for me, because everyone learns differently.
Yeah.
So maybe you can teach me your way on the next episode if you're down.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Fuck yeah, let's do
Yeah,
it.
let's do
Well,
it.
we're done.
Okay.
That was a sick one.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
good.
good.
That was
That's
a good
good.
combo.
I think
Yeah.
we gave a lot of good tips and advice for people to. There's a lot that still like.
There's a lot more to go
There's
into
so
it for
much.
sure.
There's secrets and stuff
What
like that.
secrets, dude?
I don't know.
There's a lot.
It's
like,
hard until you start talking about it.
No,
there's questions to still be answered. That's
That's
for
exactly.
sure.
Like there's a lot more into it than a lot of people think. Like I went so long without cutting my foot brake on the bagger for so long, and like I would reach for that thing, and then to find out that people were like cutting them shorter.
Explain that.
They're just
better.
cutting where they're like on the baggers. They have like pedals basically, and for how long they are, like a lot of people are cutting them and shortening them. So that
it's
way
not
they
such a
could put
far
their
reach.
foot on
Yeah,
the
so it's just closer to the foot.
yeah, you could put your foot on the floorboard and still use it. You know.
Did you cut yours too?
No, I had mids on mine.
Oh yeah, you swapped it all out.
Mhm.
But
You like mids better?
I rode when I was building my bagger. I rode Danny Ruthless's bagger,
Mhm.
and I rode a few other baggers. And like for me, I mean, I'm a tall guy, but still, like, I don't know if it was their setups or what, but I could barely like hand drag. Like I could get my hand on the ground, but it was like I just felt like I was like tiptoeing for the brake, you know?
oh,
Yeah.
I see.
So like I I just didn't feel comfortable with the floorboard setup, so I went with the mids.
Yeah, to be able to ride how you want
Just
to ride.
yeah, just to like be
Yeah.
able to ride how I wanted to ride the bagger, you know.
Yeah,
And like my main goal when I got that thing was double hand drags on it, because like no one at
No one's
that
doing
point
it.
was doing them.
Yeah.
And so like that was when I was building that thing, that was like my only focus was like get this thing built, hit a double hand drag on it, and then I'm good, you know.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
that's
Then-
basically what
Now I
happened.
can relax.
Yeah.
You know, like I hit the double hand drag on it. I rode it like consistently for a good like 4 or 5 months, and then
Got bored of it?
I got bored of it. Hopped back on the Dyna and was like, I'm a Dyna guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Only so much you
I
can
sold
do.
the bagger like couple months ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I was surprised I didn't see it in Utah. Didn't the guy in
Yeah, a
Utah
kid in
buy it?
Utah bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought-
So you just recently found out about the hack of cutting your foot brake
well, I
shorter.
found
on
out
the-
about it a while ago, but yeah, took a minute for me to find out that people were cutting them, and then not only that, but I think there's a few other
Tips.
that I can't think of right now, but like for the longest.
What's something that you guys off the top of your
Yeah,
head?
just like
that
a
really-
mod.
a
Well, I think
mod
the
that really-
carburetor thing. I
Right.
think that's huge too. Like, just drilling your carburetor. A lot of people.
Yeah,
are
if
like,
you run a Makuni, drilling the hole in the Makuni.
Drill the hole.
Yeah.
Explain it.
Yeah.
what does it do? Just piss gas all over
It
you?
does
or
more
what?
than piss gas. If you don't drill a hole, that thing is like you're going through a tank in like a lot session real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So.
If you drill the hole, it then like mists out versus like pour
Oh,
out.
so it still does.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yours
it's the
does,
carburetor.
mine never does.
Dude, mine does not
Something's
like
wrong
me.
with yours, bro.
Yeah.
You got the
I got-
the eBay one.
I got that East Coast. Listen, I bought that thing at what do you call it? Swap meet.
Wait, I thought
That thing was
that
good.
there was a mod on the carburetors that you could do so it didn't
It depends on what carburetor you're running.
chug.
Depends on what carb you're running.
You know the mod that Jason?
The CV.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably runs the CVs. I think I actually know he runs
I don't
the
like the
CVs.
CV car. I can't.
Well, I
do
mean,
this.
I don't know much about carburetors. All our bikes have been fuel
Fuel
injected,
injected,
so there's
I'm talking about my sporty.
Oh,
I'm
that
wrong,
we
that's
just
not-
drilled a hole in your stock one, I think, and call it a day.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys don't have any
I
hacks.
I got this one from Dom.
Oh
Grip tape on the foot brake.
no. Oh yeah, that's a huge one.
Grip
Really?
tape. Grip tape on the foot brake. Yep.
Yeah.
So it doesn't slip off.
I used to cut, so I cut my foot brake like down the checkered panel, and then I'd still like kind of slide my foot off. So like I saw Dom run grip tape. I'm like, all right, I wonder how that works. So I flapped wheeled and smoothed out my whole foot brake, and then glued on some grip tape. I'll never go back.
That's
Like
dope.
it's so nice. That keeps your foot so locked on. You're not gonna slip off.
You don't have to
That's a
worry
good
about
tip.
You
it.
don't have to worry
Yeah.
about because I've had my foot slip off and crash.
Yeah, that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess another tip would be the stops. I mean, I think a lot of people don't think about that if they're learning to drift. For more angle, just like a car. If you
It's
want
gonna
more,
be easier.
yeah, you gotta be able to steer that thing a little bit more, so you can cut your stops or modify it to where, you can get more angle. But that's about it. I think there's
Dom, you have one. I know you have one in your
there's
head.
a top secret.
No,
Tell us about
I
your
don't have
top
much,
secret.
honestly.
Yeah.
Core
Like my
strength.
bike, yeah, my bike is. I mean, it's pretty normal, other than like.
Other than everything on it.
Well, I mean, other than the grip tape. Like honestly, you look at my bike, it's pretty stock. Other
Yeah.
than like, I mean, obviously the motor's built, but
Yeah. Do you think that has any do you think that helps a lot? Like having
Motor
a
build?
built motor?
I mean, for beginners and I'd say intermediate guys, I think like having a stock 88 definitely is gonna make you a better rider.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not gonna, I guess, let the bike do all the work.
Yeah.
You know, like when you have a built motor, you kind of
Get
can
lazy.
you can rely on the power more.
Yeah, that's what I do now.
You
So
know, like
I
you
get
can just
real
rely.
lazy.
Yeah, you just
I'm like-
rely on the power.
I'm just chilling.
Um,
Does everything.
yeah, but I don't know. I think for beginners,
I just push a button and I'm freaking
Yeah.
flying in and all.
I hate having to power up my wheelie with my body.
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. I think definitely having a beefed up motor helps
A lot.
You're just
Definitely.
gonna run into a lot of issues, so don't do it.
I think
keep it
the
stock.
best motor setup is probably just a beefed up 88.
Yeah.
Like a hot 88 is,
Yeah, just
I think, the
get some
best.
cams,
Yeah.
cam plate, you know.
I got
and then
stock.
eventually you could go to 95.
Yeah, I'm
That's-
fully stocked.
That's
Yeah.
what everyone else runs is 95.
I would like a little bit more power out of my stock
Definitely
88 for
a-
like just exits on drifts
Yeah.
alone.
Cam plate kit.
Yeah, but I don't want cams.
Damn,
Oh,
missing out.
that's lame.
Yeah.
Why?
Bro.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, dude, that makes a huge difference.
I feel like it's gonna mess up like my coasting. Like, is my
Yeah.
bike gonna coast as far? Because like
I'm
the
running,
engine
uh,
braking's gonna be different.
Engine brake will be different, but you just gotta
Yeah.
get used to it.
I'm
I don't
running
like
a
new.
fueling 574.
That's what I was running in my
I
bagger.
just
Yeah.
live with it.
574 cam from fueling. I'm running their whole like kit,
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing, and it rips. It definitely helps a lot because riding her stock 88, I'm like, hell no, this thing sucks.
I love my stock 88. That dude takes abuse.
Yeah,
It's not that fast, so you're not gonna like.
yeah, but
You're
it
not
really
gonna loop
sucks.
out. It sucks in the streets, yes, but if like in
Yes.
the lots and drifting and everything, I
Yeah,
feel like
it's-
it's good enough.
Yeah, it's fine.
Nothing's more reliable than stock.
Yeah, you're right. There are some stock parts in there that could break. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
yeah, so
Stock Harley shit is junk.
yeah,
Just saying.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. Peace.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Later.
Bye bye.